What is up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and welcome to another review. This time we are taking a look, probably a quick look, at NECA's Kratos figure, as seen in God of War 3. This is the ultimate Kratos figure. I was geeked about this figure because Kratos is one of my all-time favorite characters. I didn't like him so much in God of War 3 because he became a parody of himself. He was very much just like Jason or Freddy or one of those, kind of generic slasher villains. He just killed everything. Whereas in 1 and 2, he was a character who had layers and depth, and you understood his motivations very clearly. There was no caricaturing of the character. But this figure, it manages to embody everything that's right with the design of Kratos, even up to how he looked in God of War 3. And I think you got the Golden Fleece in 2, so the only detail next to the cestus, which are the big gauntlets, the only other detail would be the Hermes, the boots of Hermes boots with the wings on, and you'll see those when I go over the sculpt in detail. But it's a beautiful figure, very well detailed, very well painted, and as usual, I'm gonna go over the good, the bad, the ugly, if any, and the in-between. So here we go. NECA does it again with the sculpting. They literally knock everyone else out of the park. SH Figure Arts knocked them out of the park. Marvel Legends, knock them out of the park. DC UC, knock them out of the park. Probably the only people they're not 100% knocking out of the park, and I think they pretty much still are giving them more than a run for their money, is DC Collectibles, and they're giving them a run for their money. Marvel Select, giving them a run for their money. I mean, the sculpt, the paint, every pore on this guy is sculpted. Every single material is present on this guy. Wood, stone, metal, ethereal crystals like on the blade. It's just ridiculous. Leather, burlap, gold, skin, everything is just meticulously recreated to the point where it's like, it's nothing for us to complain about. And the paint on those chains, the chains there's no slop from the paint on the chains on the rest of his bands. What the fuck? How did they do that? The Hermes boots, they're beautiful. And they look exactly like they did in the game. Exactly. This is that stuff that I'm talking about when I say, if you want a figure of a certain character as he appeared or she appeared in, whatever media you saw them in, or medium, you need to get that when you buy the figure. And a lot of companies don't get this, but you get that in spades with, NECA. And I got a lot of NECA stuff to review. NECA and I have had a love-hate relationship the last couple of years, well, the last year and a half. But I can't deny it. The sculpting and the paint work, they are on another level. You know me, I love figure arts, but few figure arts actually have this level of detail and this level of paint on the figure. It's usually in areas. Figmas, sometimes there's a couple that have similar, levels of paint, but this dude is covered in paint from head to toe. You see that subtle airbrushing that lifts the pores so you can see every crevice, you can see the little vein on his head. It's just insane. Insane. I dare you to find flaws with this paint job. You know what I mean? And there's people that are going to say, mine had a defect. Overall. You have to expect defects when you buy a mass, manufactured figure. It's mass retail, so you're going to have some issues. But the eyes are awesome on both faces. This figure is amazing. Man. I can't stress it enough. I don't even know how it took me this long to get this review done, because I had sworn I had done the review already, because I've been marveling at this figure for a very long time. I mean, look at the cestus, man. The Nemean lions. Fucking amazing. They're heavy, so your figure will, his arms will be weighed down, but it's a beautiful figure. I honestly just prefer him with his regular blades. They're just beautiful. So well painted, so well sculpted. It's just perfect, man. I can't. 10 out of 10 right here on this area. 10 out of 10 with painting and sculpting. Man. Okay, articulation. As usual, we're going to start with the head. We've got free motion. He can move his head everywhere. I have no issues with that head. Tilts, everything. It's on a ball joint with a hinge. It's beautiful. Very beautiful. Looks really good. I thought that I wasn't going to be able to get much motion. I mean, you kind of don't, but, arms go up that much. Go up that much all the way. They go backwards that far. Obviously, you could do a 360, but you know me. His shoulder joint and the bicep swivel work really well together. Nothing was stuck. This is actually my second Kratos because the first one had jacked up legs. Anyway, so you got to watch out for paint sticking in places. The torso worked perfectly. I had no problems with that on my first one. So, yeah, they did an awesome job with that. And it's an ab crunch, like a traditional ab crunch with a twist at the waist, which I was really, really, really amazed at. Legs go up forward this much, which is not bad, so you can kick things. Lateral that much. You've got a thigh cut swivel, which is nice. It's not an anatomically correct swivel. You can bend double jointed knees, you can bend that far. I think there's a little swivel in the ankle, not at the boot. And if there is, mine was fused. His feet go back that much, they point that much, and then there's a toe joint. The foot is on a ball joint, so depending on how you pose him standing up, his feet will flatten out, which is awesome. I mean, pretty much everything you saw him do in the game, you can make this figure do in real life, which is awesome. And I love how the armor doesn't hinder any of his movement on the arm with the golden fleece. I'm telling you, this is triple S class stuff right here. They really went above and beyond what I thought was possible, redoing Kratos, because this is not the first Kratos that NECA has done. This is actually their second go at the character, and this blows the previous ones out of the water. So if you see him, you need to, I don't know what you'd be waiting for. You need to jump on this shit. Quality articulation. So we talked about his articulation, and now you want to know what he can use that articulation to do. Well, you've got the cestus, which are the Nemean lions, those gloves. You've got extra heads. And you have to be careful. These were the first lions that I got, and the teeth fell out in the package. Luckily, I returned it because, like I said, the figure had jacked up legs, like fused legs, so I got a new one. So you got to be careful about that. I mean, it's nothing that, some Gorilla Glue or some super glue couldn't fix, but or some kind of bonding agent, But you got to be careful about that. With NECA, QC is always an issue. I haven't had that much in terms of problems with that, but I have had it happen where things just didn't work the way they were supposed to. But these bad boys look like they can do damage, and they're heavy, so if you happen to make him punch other figures, you are going to damage them. No bullshit. You will damage them. You will flatten toy faces the way that Kratos flattened Hercules' face in the game. I love these things. They're just badass. They just look imposing and they look powerful, and that's what you want with Kratos. He's just raw power, and I love that. Not so much an accessory, but technically it is the golden fleece. In order to put the cestus on his hand, you have to remove a piece of the golden fleece and you can actually pull the armor piece that's on his forearm. You can just pull that out, slide his arm in to the Alcestis, and you have no problems. But the detailing on the fleece is beautiful. Got some blood splatter on it. It's pretty dope. I don't think the previous ones had the blood on them. And of course you have the Blades of Chaos. I think originally they were the Blades of Athena. These things look really good. Really fucking good. Every detail's there. The little rune carving type details on the center of the blade, they're there. The crazy skull with the teeth on the hilt of the blade, it's there. The handles with the weird jagged piece on the bottom of the blade, is that the pommel? It's there. It's just beautiful, beautiful. So posing him, he even has the piece on his back that you can cross the swords or the blades in. I mean, there's no shortage of cool shit in this package. Now, one thing you want to look out for is the peg. These pegs are used to fill up the holes that hold the backpack piece on his body, should you decide to take it off. It is removable, and you just plug these in where those holes are. And you can kind of see them here because they're not all airbrushed with that texture, the pore skin texture, you know what I mean? When I say pore, I don't mean pore, I mean the pores. But you can remove the backpack. So if you like him better without that, then you can play with him like that or pose him like that. Now, I was expecting more of Kratos' weapons in the package because, I don't know, he has tons of weapons in the game. Now, I have the Ares armor Kratos from the previous God of War line, and he came with the Blades of Athena as well as the Sword of Olympus. This would have been the perfect accessory to add to this release, and somehow they just forgot about it. You know, it's not so much a nitpick or a problem, it's just an oversight, I guess, with them. But, you know, for me it's not, because if you're like me and you love Kratos, you would have had this already. So, you know, with this, it kind of it tops off this figure, and it just makes him that much better of a figure. You know what I mean? Like, it makes him that much more of a release, a better release, a full release, because you have more pieces that harken back to the game. And like I told you before, anytime there's previous media, that's what it's all about. Now, before I bring this to a close, I want to do some comparisons. There are the Blades of Athena and the Blades of Chaos. It's the same thing, just different color schemes. The paint jobs are beautiful on both. I mean, just look at that. And then next, here's the Ares armor Kratos. And you can see there is a slight difference in size. The current Kratos is just bigger in muscle, and the other one just seems to be leaner and kind of taller. His head and shoulders seem to be a little bit higher than the other guy, but the level of detail is still there. And I prefer the face on the new one, even though he kind of has a big head. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I noticed that there's an overall kind of like size difference when it comes to this, the width and the thickness of everything. The face actually on the Ares one looks more like the game. So anyway, love that. On to the bottom line. There's a lot to say about this guy because it's a very dope figure. There's a lot of video game figures out on the market these days, but NECA is showing you how it's done. The Heroes of the Storm figures are immaculate, which I'm going to review a couple of those. Kratos is dope. The player select line in general is pretty dope. It's just, they're showing you that there's a variety of ways that you can render these characters and make them interesting. God of War had a realistic style. Here you go. It all works better for the parts, or the parts all work better for the whole. Oh, jeez. It's late, I'm sorry. I just can't really find an area to complain about other than QC. Be careful. Make sure the place you buy it from has many of them. This is one of those things where maybe you want to buy it online from like Amazon or something, because if something's wrong, you can send it back. But if you get a good copy like I did, this is an immaculate figure. It's a top 10. I don't have any issues with anything, really. I mean, the omission of more weapons from the game is probably the worst thing I can say about this figure, and that's it. So this is my story, and I'm sticking to it. It's been my look at the NECA Ultimate Kratos from God of War 3, and it's a dope-ass figure. You guys need it. You need this in your life. So anyway, if you see it, pick him up. That's it for me. You guys have been great. Peace outside.